Yesterday is gone, forget about tomorrow, and the ceilings you see right through. Find the moment and make it. Write your headline and raise it to the sky. No one else can create it. Take your banner and raise it to the sky. There's only one way out. Inside a prison view, 10 whispers or a shout. Gunpowder if it's true. Smoke before the fire. No one else can slay the dragon sleeping inside of you. Find the moment and make it. Write your headline and raise it to the sky. No one else can create it. Take your banner and raise it to the sky. Find the moment and make it. Write your headline and raise it to the sky. No one else can create it. Take your banner and raise it to the sky.
The morning plenary keynote, Systems Change Success Stories, Lessons Learned from Future-Focused Leaders, will begin in 10 minutes. Please begin to take your seats. The morning plenary keynote is about to begin. Please begin to take your seats and silence your devices. Please welcome to the stage the Aurora Institute's interim CEO, Loretta Goodwin.
Good morning, everybody. Oh, we can do better than that. Good morning, everybody. There we go. Welcome to the last day of our Aurora gathering. We are very happy to have you all here. And I am very happy to welcome you to the Systems Change Success Stories, Lessons from Future-Focused Leaders Morning Plenary. Before I say anything more about this panel, I just wanted to reflect for a few minutes on yesterday, and I was really struck by the challenge that Alcine posed to us. And she really encouraged us to go out there, be vulnerable, listen, to elevate the voices of students, and we certainly saw a lot of that happening yesterday. There was a lot of learning going on, and one of the elements of learning and being open to change and development that was brought to our attention as Aurora was the fact that we had not mentioned a land acknowledgement. And so I wanted to address that this morning because I spent a lot of time thinking about it overnight. And this is not the first time I've been thinking about it, but it really struck me. And I wanted to make sure that it was not just performative. And as I was thinking about it, I was really thinking of my own heritage coming from apartheid South Africa and issues of land there. And thought for a minute about my dad, who was an educator and a historian, and one of the things my father did was contribute and be part of a panel rewriting history in South Africa, so that new textbooks were produced, which I, as an aspiring teacher, actually got to use with my students. So at the same time, using traditional textbooks and textbooks that had a revised history written. And as part of that heritage, I thought it was really important in the context of that, as well as what's happening in Australia right now that I want to educate myself more about, with the week right now of Aboriginal weeping and silence that is happening. And as I was contemplating all that, I said, you know, I really want to just mention that so that as you're thinking about these issues, we all recognize that we're all on a learning journey, and as Aurora, this is something that we're certainly going to be learning more, spending more time learning about. And so I wanted to have that and say that before I do the acknowledgement. So we acknowledge the Kauai people as the original stewards of the land on which we gather now. We pay our respect to the Kauai people, past, present, and emerging, who have been here since time immemorial. I want to now take a moment to acknowledge and send a huge thank you to Redesign for their student scholarship sponsorship. This scholarship paid for 10 students to attend the Aurora Symposium 2023. I'd like you all to just join me in a round of applause for Redesign, because we are so happy for their help. We all know that systems change is hard work, and it doesn't happen overnight. But to truly implement personalized competency-based education to its fullest potential, it means moving beyond incremental changes to radically change the way an education system operates. Today, you're going to hear from district and school leaders who have been there. You're going to learn how they got started, what mistakes they made, and how they plan to continue to build momentum to support education systems that are more personalized, equitable, and just for all leaders. Without further ado, please allow me to introduce our panelists. Please welcome Claudette Trujillo, with a passion for equity and dedication. I gotta remember to stop after I say everybody's name so you can applaud first. Claudette, we welcome you to the stage. With a passion for equity and dedication to competency-based education, Claudette has developed her career spanning 23 years in the field of education. Currently serving as the principal of Metropolitan Arts Academy, a PK-8 arts innovation school in Westminster Public Schools, Colorado, she brings a wealth of experience in competency-based systems with 15 years dedicated to this innovative approach. Under her leadership, the school became the second school in the nation to receive Level 5 high reliability school certification through Marzano Resources. Throughout her career, Claudette has served her community in various capacities, including as an administrator, a middle school and alternative high school teacher, and instructional coach. As a competency-based parent and grandparent herself, she understands the importance of personalized learning and is deeply invested in creating an inclusive educational environment, including having her grandchildren attend Metropolitan Arts Academy. Next, I'd like to please welcome Dylan Shelofsky. Dylan is a passionate educator with teaching and learning ingrained in her DNA. Coming from a lineage of educators, she always knew she would become a teacher. Currently at Metropolitan Arts Academy in Westminster Public Schools, Colorado, Dylan teaches levels 5 and 6, advanced theater, and directs the musical, having previously taught both primary and intermediate levels. She holds a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Musical Theater from Stevens College and a Master's in Elementary Arts Integrated Inclusive Education from Columbia University in New York City. Dylan's commitment to education goes beyond her classroom to include presenting at various conferences, including the WPS Competency-Based Education Summit. Next, please welcome Robert Hurtado. Robert is the current board president of the Lindsay Unified School District and has served 11 years as a school board trustee. Dedicated to providing opportunities to Lindsay leaders is his driving motivation for continuing to support personalized learning in Lindsay. Robert is currently an official for the high school football and softball, as well as a former head football coach for Lindsay High School. Robert is a Lindsay High School alum who has 3 adult sons who are also Lindsay High alumni. Robert regularly advocates on behalf of school districts in California and throughout the nation by attending legislative action events at the state capitol and in Washington, D.C. Originally, we had Tom Rooney slated for this panel. Unfortunately, he had a family emergency that he needed to attend. And so this morning, we are really happy to have with us Cinnamon Schufley. Cinnamon is the Executive Director of Curriculum and Instruction for Lindsay Unified School District. Mrs. Schufley previously served as the principal of a Washington learning community in Lindsay, California for 12 years. This was a dual immersion program. She has served the community of Lindsay for 29 years through the transition to system-wide transformation to build a learner-centered, performance-based system. Facilitating this panel, please welcome Aurora Institute's Competency Works Program Director, Laurie Gagnon. In this position, Laurie leads the Competency Works initiative, sharing promising practices shaping the future of K-12 education that is personalized and competency-based. I will now turn it over to, identifying education trends, also doing research that answers critical questions facing the field. Laurie began her career teaching in Japan and the US and spent over a decade supporting schools, districts, and states to design local competency-based performance assessment systems.
Thank you, Loretta. It is a delight and an honor to be here today to guide the conversation and to learn with and from Lindsay Unified School District and Westminster Public Schools. As Loretta said, systems change is a long game. It's a hard game, but it's also possible, and we're going to hear about stories of people that are leading that work and in their second decade of creating equitable, personalized systems that are more just for all of our learners. Personalized competency-based education work is deep transformation when it's done fully, and it's about shifting the learning culture of our communities and about shifting the day-to-day practices and systems. And it's not one size fits all, but we can learn from each other and share and ultimately figure out with our own communities how do we do this with integrity to our learners, our students, and our people. And that's what we're going to hear about today. Before we dig into systems change, please tell me a little bit about your communities, Cinnamon and Claudette. Oh, we got it. Oh.
Good morning. Lindsay Unified is in the Central Valley of California. As you can see among the groves and rich agriculture, we are 100% free and reduced lunch, 93% Hispanic or Latino, 31% are English learners, down, I should say, from 60% a decade ago. 43% from a home where one or both parents did not graduate from high school. 30% are migrant learners. 14% meet the state and federal criteria for living in a homeless situation. The average community adult education, self-reported, is around 5th grade. Our county is in the top 5 in the state of California for families living under the poverty line. While these demographics show that many families in Lindsay are economically impoverished, there is more to the story. We have a community that cares. We have a community that trusts the education system in Lindsay. That community includes learners, parents, learning facilitators, site and district leaders, classified staff, and the Board of Trustees. Despite the demographics you hear, over 500 dual enrollment college courses were completed last year. We have near a 98% graduation rate, and over 70% of our learners continue on to college.
So Westminster Public Schools is the largest district in Colorado implementing a competency-based system. And we have been at this for 15 years, working hard, and we have had our peaks and we have had our valleys during that time. It's been quite rewarding. We're a district of about 10,000 learners, about 3,000 employees. Several of our students are on free and reduced lunch. All of our schools would qualify for Title I resources, but we have to obviously divide those up. We have an interesting model that continues to evolve. Currently, we have several PK-8s. We have some traditional elementaries. We have one major high school, an alternative high school, and we still have one middle school as well. Our students are incredible, responsive, and we just graduated our second round of students that have gone through this all of their learning years. So this is the only way that they know to learn. And what we have found through this journey is it's obviously the most equitable way, but the students are thriving. It went from when we first started with lots of worksheets and figuring it out to high caliber student agency where students are building passion projects. Students are looking at advanced CTE options, and we're now partnering with colleges in Colorado to look at what programming they can offer to get on board to support our learners who this is the only way they know how to learn.
Thank you both. And as we listen today, let's hold these learners in our hearts and minds, and hold your own learners there as well. So let's dig into how you got here, and let's start with setting the vision. Robert and Cinnamon, can you speak to how Lindsay got started in changing its learning system and outcomes, and how you've been able to sustain the change?
Yes, first off, I'm very thankful to be here. As I watched the youngsters yesterday sitting up here, I was awed by how well they articulated their thoughts and shared their ideas and their passions for their learning. And sitting up here, it's a little nerve-wracking, so I'll do my best. It was very clear that early on, some years ago, that our Lindsay learners were not getting their needs met. We're a traditional school, and just like most traditional schools, we had those high achievers, but we had a lot of Lindsay learners that their needs were not being met, and they were just kind of being shuffled through the system, doing what they had to do to get by. I was one of those learners back in the day, and I did just enough to graduate and be fortunate enough to move on. But a lot of our learners weren't learning what they should have been learning, and they weren't achieving as much as they should have been achieving. And luckily for us, that we listened to our community was not happy with the results. And so early on, many years ago, before I even became a board member, our board and superintendent and administration, along with community members, stakeholders in the community, the business leaders, all came together and started forming meetings and having long meetings and discussions about what it is that they really wanted out of our Lindsay learners. And through those discussions, the strategic design that we live by in Lindsay was developed. And it's not just a document with a bunch of words on it, and it's something that we believe in. It's something that everybody in Lindsay is committed to, from the board members all the way down to our certificated and our classified staff. And so, as far as sustaining that type of thing, it takes commitment, and it's not a fast journey. It's slow. We've been seeing steady results. We're seeing great things happening in Lindsay, and we have to stay that course, regardless of how difficult it is at times. So all of our decisions as a board member, when we start getting into really tough discussions about curriculum, or whether it's budgeting, how are we going to budget our funding, and those types of things, it's really made a lot simpler by being able to always go back to our strategic design and looking at what is it that our community expects from us. I mean, they're trusting us with their kids, and we better be able to do a good job. And so we go back to that strategic design constantly when we have our board meetings. We have a superintendent who's empowered to let us know sometimes, hey, you guys are getting off base. Let's go back and see what our strategic design says, and that really helps our board drive our decision making at the cabinet level, and then obviously those types of things kind of trickle down. Another thing that helps sustain, that makes it sustainable, is that as a board we understood that this commitment isn't just for the board, and it's just not for cabinet and the superintendent, that our certificated staff had to really believe in what it meant. And so we've allocated a lot of funds for professional development, not only for our certificated staff, but for our classified staff, because we really needed everybody to understand that their role is important. They had to know their why. Why are they doing this? From the bus driver to the lady that's serving lunches, to every learning facilitator in the district, and board members and cabinet. And so I think a lot of the professional development that we have for our staff really goes to speak to them and really works on their heart. And another thing that we know is that it's not made for everybody. Not everybody is designed to work in this type of environment. It's hard work. We understand that. We know that our learning facilitators are having to put in longer hours. They're having to do extra work. It's not your traditional type of schooling where you can just stand in front of a classroom. You have to be very flexible, and you have to be able to, my word that I've learned recently is pivot. Just like we pivoted today with Cinnamon being up here today instead of our superintendent. It's next man up. So those are the types of things that we had to make sure that we developed.
Thank you.
And just like Robert said, in around 2005, this was not a secret. What we were doing was not working. We knew it, our parents knew it, and our learners were trusting us to come up with something that was going to produce results for them. One of the pieces, and he touched on it when he said that there were over 100 people gathered at various different meetings, various different sessions. We are not carrying the vision of our superintendent, a vision of mine, a vision of the board. We are carrying and holding what the community has said they want. So this isn't something that was done to them, but rather with them and for them and by them. The larger community came together. The strategic design remains a central focus point for us. And we've been able to sustain, we are in official year 15, more like around year 17-ish. And one of the reasons we've been able to do what we've been able to do and advance a learner-centered model through even changes in our board, principal changes, even a superintendent change. And as you know, that often stops whatever progress has been made. So it really is a community vision. It's not my vision or the board vision. It's a shared vision that was co-created with all of us.
So Claudette and Dylan, tell us a little bit about the vision in Westminster, and then specifically what it looks like at the school and the classroom level to meet students where they're at, to personalize, to cultivate learner agency and mindsets.
So initially when we started, we had a similar process as Lindsay. We included all stakeholders at all levels. One premise that we work under is leadership matters at all levels, and everybody is a teacher. And so our focus and our vision was really driven from our superintendent's passion around the most important day for a student is the day after graduation. Have we set them up for success? Are they prepared and ready? And are all of the opportunities and possibilities endless for them? That's where we need to start and backwards plan from there. And so we were similar, not getting results and the love of learning that we really wanted from our students. And so we also wanted to have a system that measured growth and achievement that was beyond the broken, failed, one assessment a year system, and the rank and shame that goes along with that. And so we started looking at what drives students, where is their passion. Leadership at that time did a road show. They went to every school, they sat in gymnasiums, they met with parents in libraries, and really spoke to our community to hear what they needed. And then I like to refer to the vision as hope, right? Then what is your hope for your child? What is your hope for the district? So then that was developed, and then each of our schools, we really looked at how do we map that out. We heard a lot from data and from surveys from families that they really wanted, a performing arts opportunity. They wanted a sports school. And so then became the work for us to be able to provide those opportunities. So then at a district level, then we transitioned to, at my school, we became the Visual and Performing Arts School, which is kind of Candyland. It's the dream school. It's like being on Sesame Street every day. Our kids just have a robust of opportunities to do amazing things, and we have a dance studio. And so our vision for that really sat down with our team and guiding the team through how do we want to do this work, and writing an innovation plan, and getting all staff input and buy-in, getting community buy-in, and then talking to the kids. I mean, they thought of things we probably never could have thought of. I want guitar during the day. I want, oh, okay. So then how do you develop a schedule for that that's competency-based, right? Like, how do you create sections and then take sections away, mid-year, really looking at the logistical part of that, while still focusing on this is our hope. This is our vision for our kids. And so at the school level, it's constantly growing. I don't think it's ever going to stop. The vision changes depending on the kids that come in and what their goals and dreams are. And so that pivot and flexibility, I think, is key. As a leader, you go into things thinking, I've got control. I'm in control of the situation. We're not in control. Our superintendent likes to tell us you're in control of two things: your attitude and your behavior, your response to things, right? And so I think if you keep that in mind, that guides your vision.
Yeah, and then at the classroom level, we take that vision and implement it with 30 amazing little humans. And I think that's so important when implementing CBE. You can't look at the kids in your classroom as data points or as cells on a spreadsheet. They're humans who deserve all of the tools that you can offer them to make their world a better place. And so I think a big tenet of CBE that we bring into our classrooms is teaching them how to create and exist in a community. They're writing their shared vision for learning. They are coming up with their code of conduct and treatment agreement. And at the end of the day, CBE is allowing kids to love learning because they are in control of their learning. And we're teaching them how to be agents of change. And so I think it's really cool to hear how we start with this big vision and it still exists within our classrooms.
Thank you all. So we all know, and we're hearing, educational equity is our goal, right? It is where we want to go. And there are lots of technical pieces and practices and structures and processes that we put in place. In practical terms, what are the elements that need to be in place to create that equitable system? How are you really thinking about these elements? We could do it on a technical level. How do we really think about how we're getting to that goal of equity? And let's hear from everyone and start from the classroom and work our way up. So Dylan, over to you.
So at the classroom level, I think we have to spend a lot of time creating a robust learner profile. So it's collecting data and evidence from various assessments, but it goes beyond that. And something we're in constant communication and discussion about in our building is how do we track and report on learning that isn't linear and that's more subjective. And we're creating systems so that kids are able to celebrate when they meet a goal. I mean, I was out of the classroom earlier this week and I'm receiving messages via our learning management system saying, oh my gosh, Ms. Shelofsky, I know that I passed the target of adding and subtracting decimals, and they're able to celebrate their learning and know when they're successful. They know what they're trying to achieve.
Up to the principal.
So as a school leader, the work that I do obviously needs to align to the district vision, the district goals, but we have the unique benefit of being a visual and performing arts school, so we get to transform that and be innovative in what that looks like. And so a lot of my role of what this looks like is, I'm responsive first to the school team. What do they need? What do the classroom teachers need? What resources do we have in place? And how quickly can I get them? Which is taking me into a totally different role, right? You become the advocate, not only for those students, but really for your staff as well. And I think networking plays such a key part in that. You know, moments like this, coming to Aurora, you know, even starting out, I remember sitting at the tables looking at this stage going like, I want to meet those people. I want to know how they did this. I want to get better at this. I want to improve. I know this is the right work for kids. And so that networking is key. You know, connecting with people like Rebecca Middles, and you know, initially we worked with Reinventing, you know, Schools Coalition. I give shout outs all day, y'all. I'll be like, hey, because I've worked really hard to build those relationships and networking so that you can go not only to other schools in your district, but also beyond that to places like Lindsay. We've sent groups to Lindsay. You know, we've sent some of our staff to Alaska. You know, not shying away from that. And so I think you find yourself in multiple roles, and you also have to take the data from the teacher and synthesize that. You have to align that to the strategic vision of the district while juggling, you know, being the agent for change for so many people. And so there's lots of tenets that go into it.
And from a board's perspective, one of the things that we pride ourselves on is that, you know, there are no secrets. The superintendent is always coming to our board and letting us know the real facts about what's going on with our learners. And whenever we make decisions allocating funds, it always goes back to our strategic design and what's best for learners. We're not too concerned with other things. It's more about what is good for learners. If it's good for the learners, then our board is on board. And Tom is really great about making sure that we get all the facts, that we know what's going on. And one of the things that we always talk about, because, you know, he'll bring new ideas to us. Hey, you know, what do you think about doing this thing? And he's telling us how it's going to work, and everything is sustainability. Our board is real big on, okay, are we going to do this, and is it sustainable? We want to make sure that we can sustain it long term, because we don't want to do short-term fixes. We want long-term results. And we have to stay the course. We have to be willing to take those little incremental wins and see test scores and other things going up and the learning going up. And it's evident when we go to the school sites and to our learning environments, it's real evident that what we're doing is working, and so it makes it a whole lot easier for us to make decisions. And so it's all about allocating the way it should be and making sure that it's learner-centered. If it's good for all learners, then we're on board.
Part of this, and this is a topic we could go all day, we're not going to, but a mindset and some practical tools. I'm just going to mention a few. So one of the most important mindsets is ensuring high expectations for all learners. Okay? You hear that a lot. We have high expectations for everyone. Really knowing that deep in your core, believing it, and acting upon it. Low expectations for learners for any reason is educational malpractice. It's something that is the difference and will make the difference between whether a learner has a future of their choosing or whether they have difficulty and ultimately don't have options or choices upon graduation. So really believing that and ensuring that the bar is set, learners will meet that. So that mindset is really important. All learners are assets. They bring different gifts and value with them. Our work is to help every learner leave our system with options. There are a few other pieces I want to mention for my folks out there who are going, but what do I do? What do I do? Having a guaranteed viable curriculum is non-negotiable. This is really, really important because it helps learners know what you expect. It helps learning facilitators know, what am I shooting for? What am I doing? Transparent progression of learning, demystify what it means to meet the goal. An LMS, or learner management system, for a continuum of learning. The adult in the learning environment should not be deciding when and how quickly or where a learner can go in that curriculum. So having an LMS that supports that and doesn't have the adult in the room as the gatekeeper of all knowledge that no one can make a move without is really, really important. Other nuts and bolts pieces, I'm just gonna shout out a few. There's so much to talk about in this space. But doing things that you know are good for a learner of any age, but especially children. Not averaging grades, penalizing them for when information is learned, when and how. Having behavior woven into a grading system. That doesn't make any sense. Behavior is important. Work habits are important. That doesn't have a lot to do with what's actually been attained. So those are just some of the pieces, but I really want to just highlight again the expectation piece, because it's very easy in a supportive, helpful way to sympathize and over-sympathize, over-empathize with the learner. Say, well, the poor thing that just arrived to the country a month ago. Poor thing, you don't know what's happening at home. Most adults couldn't even handle it. Poor thing, they're 4 years behind. Low expectations of learners for any reason is educational malpractice. Keep that piece with you.
Thank you. So go back and just do all that stuff. No, for real, not all at once. But you got to get going with the thoughtful urgency of meeting your people where they're at, but really moving forward with these things. So we know that we said there's ups and downs. What's a key lesson that you've learned along the way, a mistake that you made that others might learn from? And let's hear from Claudette and Cinnamon on this one.
So one of, I think, our lessons learned is we definitely started with proficiency scales and academics and having our teachers write their own, which was great. But I think we should have really stuck with having a heavy focus on agency at the beginning. I think that would have helped us really funnel a lot of those academic pieces in. We are definitely expanding that now, and obviously the kids are. I see it in the classrooms every day. But I think for us, that would be the biggest lesson learned. And how do you then invigorate your parents to develop that same advocacy and agency as well? You know, some of the things we're looking at right now at a school level is how do we utilize these volunteers in an innovative way? So one of the practices we just put out there that will be new now is, hey, we're looking for a parent volunteer who wants to do PR and marketing about competency-based to help other parents understand competency-based, right? Understanding that from a parent lens rather than parents coming in and listening to me talk to them about it, or the teachers talk about it. They really need to be able to funnel those questions through rising up some of our parents to be experts on that. Same thing with your student leadership team. Can they speak to it? Can they go out there and articulate it? And can they advocate for it? Can they explain why this is the right work, why this is the right way to learn? And so I think kind of starting with that, in addition to having all the academic pieces, would be something I would say could have been a better focus for us.
This is another piece that could go on and on. It's not going to. A couple of really key pieces in what lessons we've learned or what mistakes we've made. One has to do with mindset and the other is more practical. So initiatives, change, true second order change, especially in a district setting, lives or dies with your site principals. Site principals must be engaged early and often at a very deep level. This helps build commitment and it leads to sustainability. We could say that for every educational partner, for every stakeholder, but truly engaging site principals at a really deep level right off the bat. Doing too much too soon. We had amazing, powerful consultants along the way, too many to list. There's a few, brilliant, B. McGarvey, Chuck Schwan, Reinventing Schools Coalition. We had great partners that were helping to guide us, especially at the beginning. Doing too much too soon and listening to consultants that don't understand our context or don't live in our context. They're there to guide and help. Advancing our community at our pace. Keeping in mind, there's a balance between tomorrow and never, right? You've got to find your own balance. But really understanding that those shifts, if you do them too quickly or too many at once, and you're not paying attention to input from your partners, your learning facilitators, your parents, your learners, your board, your site and district leaders, that it can actually slow progress. So making sure that this is a community shift and we do feel a sense of urgency. Everyone in this room feels a sense of urgency or you wouldn't be here. But managing that urgency with what's possible in the context that you are in, and only you know that. An outside consultant cannot help you figure out a good pace. That's your context and you live within it. So those are just a couple of things of a long list of lessons we've learned along the way.
I'll put on my parent hat at this point.
Sure.
Lessons learned. My youngest son was a senior when Lindsay Unified first went to our performance-based system. And what I would say lesson learned was messaging. You have to be careful how you're telling learners about what's going on. And for instance, he, very bright young man, very bright, lazy though. And he was told that you can work at your own pace. So you know, don't worry about anything, just work at your own pace. And he came to me and he said, Dad, he says, I can wait till the end of the year to get my work done. And I told him, Josh, I don't think that's going to work. He said, no, it's going to work. He said, they told me. And that's what he did. He waited till the end of the year, and he got all his work done. He got good grades, but didn't know anything about pacing at that time. So I think that was a lesson learned.
So knowing that Westminster and Lindsay are examples that get held up in the field, how do you reflect and hold yourself accountable to keep going? Dylan and Robert, let's hear.
Yeah, one of, I feel like our district's core values is continuous improvement. You can't be living and sitting and working in a stagnant place. And with that comes a lot of transparency and being able to be transparent about data, be transparent about what's happening in our classrooms. In our school, when we're doing peer observations, all of the data and information that's collected is viewable by everyone in our building. And it's really important because then not only are you able to know what you have to work on, you're able to then see who in the building has an expertise in that area, and you're able to go and advocate for yourself. And what's really cool now is our kids, after years of seeing this happen, just a couple weeks ago came to us and started advocating, well, the teachers get to go do peer observations. Can we go into classrooms and do peer observations? We want to see what's happening in other classrooms. And this vision of we can always get better.
One of the things that Lindsay Unified, we have a workshop every other year with the superintendent, and we go through our vision statement. And our vision statement has probably over 50 items on it. And so we do a rating, one to 4 on each of those items to see where we're at. And obviously we're not there yet. I think the last count we were on 34 of those items, we're probably at 3. And some of the things we haven't even started yet. So that helps us to go back and set the priorities on what we need to work on in the future and for the coming year. Always reflecting back on where we're at, where we still need to be. And that's one of the things that we do as a board and with our superintendent to kind of keep us on pace.
Those are great examples from the classroom, kid level, all the way up. So yesterday we heard from Alcine Mumby about learner-centered liberatory assessment, and at lunch we're going to hear from Sharif El-Mekki about rebuilding the Black educator pipeline and thinking about how we have an inclusive workforce. Could we ask for an example from your work that connects to these themes? And I think Dylan and Cinnamon are going to talk about this one.
First, can we give Alcine another round of applause? That was so amazing yesterday. But I loved hearing from her about this concept of assess, meaning to sit with, and that it's opportunities for us to witness our students learning, and that's what assessments are. And I think of how lucky I am to every day get to bear witness to learning happening. That doesn't happen very often in society, where you get to witness a process from beginning, and I don't get to see the end, but to see it begin. And so I think back to our arts integrated humanities projects in our school, where we're watching kids tie particle models of matter with dance concepts and getting to sit with them and really witness incredible learning that you know is going to stay with them forever.
We know that learners benefit from a diverse educator workforce. And I have had the privilege to be in Lindsay in some way, shape, or form for 30 years. Many years ago, our learners did not have a lot of learning facilitators that looked like them. Over time, we've done quite a bit of work to remedy that. One of the pieces that I think we're most proud of is our educator pipeline and residency program. So essentially, we are taking our former Lindsay learners and our classified staff who work in the community, from the community, and serve the community, and bringing them into a pipeline to gain a credential and master's degree in 1 year and return to work alongside some of the learning facilitators, site principals, classified staff that they grew up learning from. So the residency program, it has allowed us essentially to say welcome home to many of our Lindsay learners and classified staff over time who are now teaching for us. And while we don't take all of our residents, because honestly, luckily, we don't have the shortage issue that much of the nation seems to be experiencing, but they come home to teach in Lindsay or our surrounding areas, and that's one of the ways that we've been able to ensure that our workforce is more diverse over time.
Great, and I hope one thing that people are taking away is just systems are connected, right? And you have people at all levels, right, that can be contributing, and the more everyone shares that understanding, the more everyone's action can be contributing at multiple levels, and you can really hear that coming through here. We did a great job. We have a time for at least one of our bonus questions. So What has been the most rewarding part of the journey, or one thing that has been really rewarding for each of you? And I'm not gonna call on you. I'm gonna let you move.
I'll go first. For me, I think it's the culture change that we see at our learning communities. Lindsay, I'll be honest, when I grew up in Lindsay, it was a pretty rough place to go to school. But if you go onto our campuses now, you see learners who are engaged. You don't, if it's, between class times, you don't see a lot of learners, like for instance at the high school, you don't see a lot of learners milling around and getting into trouble. Everybody's got a place to be. When you talk to the learners at the high school or at any learning community, they're so respectful. The culture has just changed dramatically, and I think that's probably the biggest thing for me.
I think for me, the most exciting and rewarding thing is having such a clear vision for who you want in front of those students and making sure they bring that passion to the table. So hiring for me has been the most exciting because this changes your interview questions. It changes the outcomes you're looking for. If you're going to watch them teach a lesson before you hire, how you're evaluating that entire process changes. And it really takes it to that human level. And so you get the opportunity, I've gotten the opportunity to hire people, like Dylan and our music teacher, Zach, who's in the audience. And the power of that is amazing because you see them with the kids and they almost become just like little replicas, right? Like Dylan is so positive and kind and caring and teaches them to have that agency. So then when you walk into her class, all the kids come to you and they are positive and kind and caring and have the passion and the agency and they're walking up with their data notebooks. Let me show you, let me show you what I passed. Let me show you how I'm tracking my progress. Same thing with our music program, watching the learners come in, and at that time we didn't have a robust, music program, and Mr. Levinson came in, and now they're walking around with all kinds of instruments. He's coming in every day, like, can we get a guitar? I'm like, I don't even know what some of these things are, but yes, I will find funding for that. And now now they're composing their own music. They are, being asked to present at things in the community. How amazing is that to have started with this hope and this vision, and then just see that expand because of the unique and amazing and diverse role models that we're able to put in front of them.
Yeah. I think the biggest reward I get to see every day is to see these kids flourish and, most importantly, love to learn. They're in a system where they get to be who they are, they get to advocate for themselves, they get to stand up for what they believe in, they get to be their true authentic selves because we have a system that holds them up. So for me, the biggest reward is that we're doing what is best for kids.
I would say, just like Robert explained, in a 30-year time period, and he's been there much longer than 30 years, and also having been a parent in the system, my two grown sons went through preschool through high school in Lindsay. The shift in learner motivation, learner meaning, learner hope, developing and nurturing a strong team with the depth to carry out the work, and really being able to see it's tangible, that learners know that they're accepted, they know they're loved, they know they're seen, and they know they belong. And that is a shift over the last 15 to 20 years. The agency that they have, and it's not because we've given it to them, it's not ours to give, it's theirs. So the learner shift is what I would say I'm most excited about.
Well, if you take nothing away today, I hope that you take away that this is possible. It will not look the same for your community, for you personally, but you are part, if you share, if you learn from each other and really listen and work together, learn, be willing to pivot, you will get there. And if we think of all of our systems, right, becoming fully realized, it is a beautiful mosaic to imagine. And the future is bright if we keep going and share and celebrate and with each other, but also with the people who aren't in the room. As we close, I'm going to invite everyone to have a one-line takeaway or call to action for the audience. And we'll start, and we're just going to go down the line, starting with Claudette.
So I would say, do it for the kids. It's just that simple. At the end, when you take away the templates, the spreadsheets, the matrices, the proficiency scales, when you peel all of that away, which Dr. Gatto doesn't always like to do. You need those people. But when you peel all of that away, we all come together in our district because it's what's right for kids. And if you focus on that, then you can have your people that bring the spreadsheets, the templates, the data, the hiring, all of those things fall in place if you have the same central core value. And so, yeah, do it for the kids.
Oh my gosh, this is so funny. I found the right place to work because I've been thinking about my call to action.
We didn't tell each other.
We didn't tell each other. At the end of the day, whether you are a consultant or a district leader or a school leader or a teacher, please remember to keep kids at the center of every single decision that you make. Our kids are worth our time, our energy, and our innovation. They should be the center of it all.
My call to action would be if you haven't started this kind of work yet, get going. and if you're in it, stay with it. Stay the course because you're going to get good results. Your learners are going to benefit, which is what it's all about. So just stay with it.
This type of work is a moral imperative. It's not a choice, as Robert stated. If you truly want to advance and sustain learner-centered conditions, invest in the development of leaders at every level in the organization. That's what I would say.
Thank you all so much. It's been a delight. Let's give it up for our crew here.
Please welcome back to the stage Loretta Goodwin.
What was this to say? Oh, you this. Oh, I forgot. Oh, you're gonna. There's two to advance too. I forgot to put those back up.
Wow, I'll just add my thanks to this panel. We're leaving with a lot to ponder, so I know I'll be thinking about a lot of, especially these last one-liners. Thank you all very much. Before we depart, I want to remind you of a few things. After this, please head back to the exhibit hall, that's Oasis 1, to check out our fantastic exhibitors and enjoy a coffee break. Sessions are going to begin at 9:45 a.m., and you can visit the mobile app, as usual, for the full schedule of events. At 12 p.m., you can pick up your boxed lunch in the exhibit hall and head back here with it. We ask that you just pick it up there and come straight over here so that we can begin our keynote this afternoon with Sharif Al-Mekki, and that's going to be from 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. And I'd really urge you to please take hold on one sec. Wanted to make sure I wasn't forgetting anything. Please take the mobile app survey because we really use all that information to improve the offerings that we have in our future symposia. I really want to thank you for being here with us once again, and we will see you all back here for the amazing closing keynote at 12:30 today. And in the meanwhile, I wish you a wonderful morning with all of the various sessions. Thanks, everybody.